Should
Oh.
we put the lobby info in the chat? Or
Yeah, Andy, I believe did we make this with like a password that everyone can join?
yeah, we did.
Is that the thing? Okay, so what is it?
The room ID is RoomVern, ROOMVERN, and the password is CAT, CAT.
All right, guys. I just tossed it in there. Go ahead and jump into this. The room, yeah, like Sean just said, RoomVern, like IVERN, and the password is CAT.
Yeah. You also have to check show private games if you want to see it.
Yeah. Also, yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, God. We are filling right up. Everyone is ready to get in there. So let's see. Wolfure asks, do you still think he can be played bot lane, especially given his passive?
Yeah, I think that you can play him in bot lane. I think, in particular, there's some characters that are very good with him. Caitlyn is one, right? You can utilize the brush in lane to get interesting spots to sort of creep up and to trade, those sorts of things, definitely. I don't think that he is a consistent pick there. I think that you need to be planning around what you want to do when you pick him there, and you also need characters that can synergize with him and a partner that knows what he wants to do. But there's some other things that you can do with the passive, especially like you can sort of siphon off some of the jungle gold if your jungler actually will allow you to do that, right? So you can go up, mark things, help out your lane, wait till it's finished, and then walk back up and collect it, and you can be a bit more ahead than normal.
Yeah, that's actually also probably really good now that I think about it with taking the enemy's camps, right?
Yeah.
Like, instead of tower diving, you can just go take their Krugs or their Gromp or something like that.
Right.
All right, so I think we are about ready to get going with the game. Sean, I hope you're ready to try to snatch IVERN.
I'll try to get it.
Guys, if you're on Sean's team, please let him play IVERN. He is a professional. Y'all have PvE accounts. You can go for it. So I guess go ahead and start it up, and we'll see if we can make it happen. Oh, no.
Oh no, it's a struggle.
The struggle indeed.
Got it.
All right, so we should, everyone make sure that you can hear his game sounds. So go ahead and keep giving us feedback on that so that we make sure that we're going it. So before we take a couple more questions, oh, actually, no, there is one. Zion Isaias asks, does Rengar really work with the brushes?
Yeah, he does.
He really does.
It works just like
Rengar really works with the brushes. I'm excited. That pulls out the knife cat in me. But let's see. So we're heading into the game. Some people out there maybe don't know what the kit does just yet. They're about to find out really quickly. When we get into the game, I want you to kind of talk about each ability as it comes up. And Sean, I kind of want you to help out with that. But try to prime people for what they're going to see. Like, what is this experience really compared to, kind of the normal jungling that you think people are going to be looking for?
Yeah, so IVERN definitely can take different routes throughout the jungle. He has his passive, which you guys are going to see, which allows him to mark jungle camps, and then they sort of cook for him as he is going through the rest of them, and he can mark multiple ones at once. So his pass that he can take throughout the jungle, and his ganking, and his sort of invading, all these things can be basically, let's say, like you can do these things in a different way than normal. You have a lot more freedom as IVERN. And so you guys will be able to see that as he kind of goes through the first camp. You don't immediately kill or clear each camp as you go through, but instead you have to choose where it is that you want to go.
I love, they're like, we have to cook. He's the cooking jungler. No, can we get a cooking, we added the Baker Pantheon, we gotta get a cooking IVERN. He just he sets the little timer on them. If it was that'd be super cute.
There's a lot of pretty clever ideas that people have for skins for him in the future that are really funny.
Oh yeah, we gotta make sure that the next game we get the skin.
Okay.
So that people can see the Candy King.
The recall is pretty good.
Yeah, the Candy King's not to give too many spoilers, but the Candy King recall is truly terrifying. So let's see. How do you see Abraxas asks, how do you see his W being used most effectively?
Yeah, so I think that kind of depend on what point in the game that you're at, right? If you are in the early game, I think a lot of the time you can screen what you're doing in terms of approaching enemies. You could fight in different ways and like use that to dip out of vision tactically, and you can set up brushes that maybe you wait in for later, or screen off epic monsters, things like that. I think the late game and the mid to late game especially, sieging is really, really good with the brush. You can set up brush line that you can attack from and throw stuff out of while you're actually attacking towers, which is a really big deal. If you get a team composition that has things like Varus and stuff like that, you can just chuck stuff out. It's really good. Sean, you could probably talk to some of that.
Also, make sure they don't quit out of the game, because this just happens when the PB just opened. Literally everyone is on this tiny server trying to play IVERN right now, so it should just be a little delayed. Right. What was the question? You asking?
I was just saying Sean could probably talk a little bit more to how the brush is used throughout the game.
Yeah, I think some of the best uses are, like Blake mentioned, sieging, setting up for objectives. It's also pretty fun to condition your enemies to think there won't be anyone in the bush, and eventually there's your entire team in the bush. There's just a lot of neat mind games you can do with this character. It's actually the most interesting thing about so creative, and there's so many different paths. IVERN to me is his early clears you can take depending on what you want to do. It really doesn't feel like any other jungler. The game room for an either.
All right, we're gonna try another game then.
Let's get in there.
Well, Mr. Loud, still loud guy. Apparently, you're still loud.
All right, we'll move that away.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something that I hadn't really considered when I was first thinking about the character, because I really align to characters for their thematics for the most part. And I was like, oh, it's so cool that he doesn't kill the jungle. He just kind of sets them free or whatever. But the actual meaning of that is he doesn't take any damage, right? Like, you don't really have to engage in combat, right?
Yeah. Quick side note, the name is IVERN and the password is dog.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so you actually do take damage when you're putting a ritual onto a jungle camp. It's based on your level, so
Right.
You'll hurt yourself a bit, especially early on, to try to control what you're going to be doing in terms of ganking and stuff like that. But as you level up, eventually that cost becomes almost nothing. So early, you'll have to actually consider how much damage you're doing to yourself as you go through and what you're choosing to actually mark. But then that becomes much less of an issue as you go through.
Okay, does the damage... so you said it's based on your level, but it isn't based on the camp?
It's not based on the camp, no.
Okay, so you could actually, you could 3-buff people, pretty effectively.
Right, because it's the same difficulty no matter what for you to take the camp, whichever one you choose.
So this is something that maybe some people haven't been thinking about. How does IVERN interact with Baron and Dragon?
He interacts with them just like normal. You can damage them just like you would be able to otherwise, and you can smite them, etc. Generally, you can expect if you have an IVERN on your team, or if you are IVERN, to treat epic fights in a similar way that you would normally, just with the addition that the brush could potentially create interesting times where you're screening off the epics or something like that.
Okay, but his passive doesn't actually interact with them at all.
It's only non-epic monsters.
Right, okay, yeah. I get you.
Two things to note for that. Smite works completely different with every other camp in the game besides epic monsters. And also his ultimate, Daisy. It's really effective at taking epic monsters because it can tank for you. And it lasts for such a long time that she's kind of like your buddy that helps you go around and do it.
So much, ever since you told me,
while you set up the brushes.
Yeah, I love Daisy's in the video today. I was watching it over and over. When IVERN summons Daisy, they do a cute high five as he tags her in, which is really just the cutest thing of all time. So let's see. Nick Ikosi asks, how good is the AI on the Ultimate, and also is the stun?
Yeah, the AI on the Ultimate is, generally you want to control it like you want to control Tibbers, but it's a bit more important for IVERN, right? You get a stacking stun, which is a bit more effective. You actually care a bit more about that as you're going through. He has a bit more logic for Daisy than Tibbers does to try to help you out if you're not giving commands constantly or whatever like that, right? He should generally be a bit better. Follows your Q dash, so your Q, which is the route that you send out that people can jump to. If you do that while Daisy's out, she'll take that jump too, and she'll attack that target.
Yeah, that's a big
one. You can
one.
put the shield on her and things like that, so you can try to get her to stun the priority targets for you. She follows through with what you're trying to do, those sorts of things.
Her being able to take the Q makes it feel much smoother than Tibbers, for example.
Yeah, that's a thing that I don't think a lot of people know yet. I guess, did the reveal finally go out? Because I know the video went out before the reveal. But yeah, the Q, what is the Q called?
Root Collar.
Root Collar. So yeah, that's the, it's similar to a Dark Binding. It fires out a root that hits. But then once the target is rooted, if you click them or if you basic attack them, you will move closer. You'll kind of dash towards them.
Right. You'll dash, and your allies will dash based on your attack range. So if you're a ranged character like Caitlyn, you'll go to 600, whatever range that hers is. And if you're a melee character, you'll go pretty much right on them. within a couple hundred units.
Does the brush give any extra movement speed or anything, or is it just brush?
Just brush.
Yeah, this is one of those abilities where it's like we're not really doing anything to cheat and help you use it. It's like you have to figure out how to use it on your own.
There's a little bit. The first 3 seconds that you put the brush down, you can see through it as IVERN. It'll reveal the area around. But other than that, yeah, just regular brush.
All right, let's see. We seem to still be having some difficulties.
Oh, we just got it.
Yo, right as.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
never
happening.
mind. I talked about it.
Hey!
Yeah.
You got a game.
The moment
Yep.
that I mentioned it, it ended up happening. Are you gonna fix Loud Guy, or?
No, he's fine actually.
Oh, okay.
He's fine.
Yo, we got Star Guardian Jinx in here too. We have double Star Guardian Jinxes. Okay.
Oh, double Rengar also. That'll be fun.
Oh my lord.
So in testing, there was a lot of Rengar at the start, just happened to be in the games, and we ended up taking him out whenever we were testing IVERN, because he would mess up IVERN so hard. Whenever IVERN would use his brush to try to get his ranged auto or to set up for something, Rengar would just come in and make IVERN's day worse.
Yeah. All right.
There we go.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Stream Dad. Everyone say bye to Stream Dad.
Bye.
He's gonna go back to moderating the chat right now. So yeah, so we have, dude. These I'm actually pretty into these team comps. These are gonna be pretty goofy. The double barred IVERN.
The
Yeah.
double Rengar too.
Yeah. This is. I'm pretty into having these. So guys, make sure. Everyone make sure that you leave your the game sounds. Make sure that you're.
You've earned a good death.
So we're just gonna walk
I've
around.
earned
We're
the
gonna
kill.
talk about how it goes. So Sean, narrate for us every moving part. Try to take kind of the driver's seat for us and talk about what you're doing and the decisions that you're making.
Okay, I'm just gonna do a quick
Yeah, they're
key
saying
bind.
game sound is a little bit too loud.
Welcome to Summoner's
God.
Rift.
In-game music loud.
Hopefully that's a little better.
Yeah, I think it's gonna take a while because of the.
I have some pretty weird hotkeys, so I recommend you don't
30
try this at
seconds
home.
until minions spawn.
This is part of the reason why you used to be good.
Yeah, I used to.
This is- All right, okay. They're saying you're good on lowering the sound.
Okay, sweet.
His walk is so good.
Yeah, the walk
Oh,
is so good. So basically, with his current clear, you don't take the first camp. I like to set it up so it'll mature. Take one small camp, go to my other buff, and then smite the second one, set up some more, run back and collect everything I've done.
All right, so
Minions
smiting.
have spawned.
How does smite interact with the passive?
Right, so after you've actually set up the mark on a camp, if you smite it, that's the way you can instantly finish it. So normally you have to wait the full duration whenever you mark a jungle camp. So at the beginning of right now, it's about 40 seconds. You have to wait that entire time. But if you smite, that's your way of opting out, essentially.
Okay.
You can immediately clear the camp if you smite it, as long as it's marked. You cannot smite
You look
a
just like my
non-marked
friend
jungle
Daisy.
monster if it's not marked.
Okay, so you see, he just smited, and then so tell us. So
Now,
what are you
where
about to
should
do
I
here?
leave my root?
So what I'm doing here is I'm setting up my blue, and I'm gonna cheese the other jungler. I took their blue, I skilled Q, I'm gonna hit red, go over the wall,
Don't start fights,
channel it,
travel back.
and smite and instantly be out.
Yo!
Yeah, now
Oh my god.
now I can look for a gank here, and then come back and get my blue. So I'll have done double buff and a gank for 2 minutes. Oh yes.
See how your Rengar does here.
Yo, first blood, baby. Holy hell! Everyone is losing their shit off of the red buff steal.
Yeah, so I mean that's one of the things that you can do if you save your smite, right? Like you have to be very, I would say you have to be very selecting when you want to actually use your smite. It's a big deal, right? You can use it for a lot of powerful things.
Yeah, and in testing we've played a lot, so as people get used to that cheese right there, they'll be able to counter it pretty soon, and it becomes like a mini game of defending that level 2.
Okay, so you.
Kind of like the Shaco.
We are
So,
one.
so just to kind of explain to the chat and make sure I get what's going on. So you set up your timer
Yep.
on your blue. You went used your first smite to instantly take their
Easy
buff,
stampede
collected
when no
your
one is
blue,
watching.
and then just went and smited red as well.
Yep.
And so as you guys see, there the kind of ring around it is the timer there. So you're just kind of getting
see
ready
it.
to take each one. Oh, he just kind of does a little bow for them. That's cute. Okay, so Blake, Oh, he just kind of does a little bow for them. That's cute. Okay, so Blake, talk about a little bit like how did you guys come up? Like, tell us about who IVERN is, right? Like, how did you guys get to this point as we watch Sean continue to destroy this game?
So, as I sort of stated at the beginning, initially we came into this with the idea of having like a passive support jungler without being able to kill anyone. That was sort of the idea behind it. That was spawned from, we had some pretty cool concept art that I'm sure you guys will see eventually. Like this kind of very creepy looking guy, similar to IVERN, but with like a antler mask, or like a, what do you call them, like a cow, like the skull.
Yeah.
And it was covering his face like a mask so that you can't see it. And so it was very creepy, sort of unsettling thing, and we were like, this is going to be a druid sort of fantasy for League of Legends, because we haven't hit on that, specifically for like the plant sort of side. I guess you could say Ninja is kind of like a druid, right? But from that angle, we wanted to get that, hit that element, and then the gameplay was this sort of important where throughout.
Star Guardian. Okay, so throwing up the brush, they're combining it with the other brush, and are you going to be able to take out the other IVERN?
Oh no.
Oh my lord. Yeah, that was actually, so what happens when you enter brush? Anything?
So if you enter brush, you get ranged auto attacks that do slightly more damage. It's really nice for applying red, or just getting that extra boost you need to finish off a kill.
Ooh, I haven't heard that one yet, but they're calling it Tree Sin with the Q.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
They're saying the game is too loud. The sound effects are too loud. You turn down the music and everything, but
Okay. I'll
yeah, I'd probably take the sound effects down just a nod, just to make sure it's okay.
hopefully that's a little better. Yeah.
All right.
sounds
Hopefully that should fix it a little bit for you guys. Turn down in game and turn up your mics. Okay. Well, so let's see. Yeah, hit streak. Man, shout outs to Jesse. Shout outs to hit streak. So you. It also looked like it shows you on the mini map when your Stream Dad's back. It also seems to show you in the mini map where you've marked something. Is that correct?
Right, so the minimap will get an
I just turned
icon
down
when
the
the
volume.
actual camp is completed that will tell you that it's done. You can also look in Fog of War and you can see your timers as IVERN, and that'll help you be able to see, but it'll pop up a little green dot when you're actually ready.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, because earlier I saw him walking away from Gronk, and it was still white. So that probably meant it was still completing the circle.
Right.
And then it'll go green to let you know you should go pick it up.
Right.
Yeah, I'll demo it for you on this one. So like, the example is you channel it, lose a little health and mana. There's this ring. In the minimap, it should be white from now on. Oh no. Oh, yeah.
Whoa. Okay. Ragnar should have made it happen. So let's see. Tell me about this E and a lot of your use case. Like what is the E primarily meant to do?
So early game, the E I mostly use as a setup for my Q. I put it on myself. I absorb a little bit of damage, run, get a slow, do some damage, and then because they're slowed, it'll be easier to hit my Q and my team can follow up. Late game, it transitions into more of a peeling tool, but it's pretty versatile throughout the entire game. But those are my two most common use cases.
Okay, and we're coming up to the ultimate. Like, tell me about like how did the ultimate come to be? What is like the use case of this ultimate? How should people be using this thing?
Yeah, so a lot of what we were thinking about when we were making his abilities, like the Q and the E, was around him being able to support a melee or like a juggernaut type character better than a normal support would be able to, because he's freed from the constraint of having to actually be in the bot lane. And so you can see that when we were working on IVERN ults in the beginning, I kind of went to the idea of this guy is sort of the bruiser buddy, and that he can make them really strong. And so some of the versions before were like super buffs for bruisers. Well, a lot of that, the problem with those sorts of ultimates was that IVERN didn't really feel like he was able to do something cool. Like it wasn't him that was doing it because he was buffing somebody else. And so eventually we kind of circled to the idea of, well...
Oh no, double Daisy. Daisy jumped out immediately to get exploded.
She
Rengar
dies when IVERN dies.
Okay, Rengar on Rengar crimes here.
But anyway, the reason we went with the summon was to basically say, if IVERN needs a bruiser to succeed, why don't we just let him make his own?
Oh! The double Star Guardian kill. I love that skin so much.
Yeah, one thing to note, when I take a buff, it actually leaves a clone of the buff behind for my ally to take. So Gragas took an extra blue right there, so we both got one.
Okay, so
you
how
can
does
see when he takes this red, you'll see him leave.
I unfortunately do not have smite.
When he takes it,
Yeah.
you'll see it.
So how does that work? Explain that again for everybody.
So after you hit level 5, whenever you take a buff camp, you leave a copy of it for an ally to walk over and pick up as well. And so that ring that you see with that the essence around it, if you walk into that ring as an ally, it'll transfer to you and you get a copy.
Okay, so you can basically donate buffs more easily to your ally. So I guess
Yeah, you'll be able to see
You'll
right
see
here.
Bard get this red here.
So I take it, there's this circle, and he stands in the circle and gets the red.
Yo,
Yep.
Grunts, there's danger afoot.
man. So this is actually so interesting to just watch him walk around and just high-fiving all the jungle camps and everything. All right, okay. So now we're gonna see a little bit more of the gameplay.
I dropped a brush so I could get ranged autos and slow.
Alright, so the range on the root caller isn't like that.
No, it's not that long.
It's pretty standard to probably what you would expect.
So what I'm gonna try to do here is summon Tibbers and have her go and kill or Annie. Ooh, go get him tips for easy.
Oh my god.
So I actually didn't do anything there, but Daisy did work.
Yeah, Daisy ended up tanking the tower quite often. So how does Daisy work, and how long does this thing last? Like quite a while.
It lasts right now about 60 seconds. So
Okay.
the whole time, you should be able to have her follow you around and fight multiple times. And she'll like tank dragon for you.
Yeah, no, I'm putting.
So does it automatically target what you target?
In some situations, there's a lot of like nuance behind it. But if you tell her to attack something, she'll focus on that until it gets like pretty far away from you. And if you cue something, she'll jump to that target immediately and switch to that. So if you manage to hit somebody, she'll try to follow up for you. If you're not giving her orders and she's kind of following you around like right now, then eventually if she sees an enemy, she'll just go for them. So there's kind of a mixed amount of things you can do. You can tell her not to attack anybody by following yourself, or you can have her sort of auto-acquire, or you can literally tell her what to do.
Hold on, I just saw the cutest thing when I think this Cassie is trying to outplay everybody. Is she gonna do it? Oh, okay. I saw you with the turning.
Yeah, I
saw
didn't
what
want to
you're
get
doing.
stunned.
So hold on. So when Daisy despawns, she just waves.
Yeah, she
That's
waves goodbye.
okay. I want to play nothing but IVERN right now. Everyone's like, oh my lord. Daisy does a little wave. Tree Sin, Mr. Tree Seeks right now. So there seems to be a lot of concern from the chat talking about IVERN's late game. They say he seems like they're really digging the utility of kind of the early game, but it seems like maybe the character is like not going to be as successful later on. How have you found IVERN's late game to be?
He does fall off in some ways, right? He has to focus then on peeling, and it's sort of up to how well his allies have been doing most of the time to actually pull him through. Sean, you could probably talk pretty well to that.
Yeah, I would compare it a lot to Bard, where Bard might be a little bit of a bully early. He can really control the tempo of the game, and as it goes to late game, he's more about peeling and setting up catches.
Yeah, and honestly, his Q seems like such a crazy tool for that.
Yeah.
Right, like, and it's like a binding that then gives everyone a Lee Sin Q to your target.
Right. I think the variance on successful brush placements also is a really big deal. Like, I've had situations where an entire game felt like it was turned around by a good brush that people were able to utilize, and sometimes opposite, right? You actually lose the game for your allies because of that.
Ooh. Oh, is Daisy gonna get him?
Should be able to. Oh, Daisy. Oh, did he just walk through him?
That might be.
Yeah, that looks like a PvE bug right there.
Rip. All right. Well, don't play Gragas on PvE.
You heard it here.
Apparently. So, I love his fast run. His,
Yeah,
like,
his
skip
run
and
is so
hop.
satisfying.
That's so cute. Okay, so you guys are saying like he kind of transitions into a little bit of a different role, but you feel like his late game still works pretty well.
Right. I think as long as you're focused on peeling and allowing Daisy to get rid of tanks, you can do really well. She's not great at attacking 80 carries because they can kite her, but otherwise, yeah.
Yeah.
So that buff So I had a couple other questions in the chat. That buff that you leave behind, is that an exact copy of the buff?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not different in any way.
Nope.
And can enemies pick it up?
Yep. No, they can't pick it up, but they can kill the person who has it and get it.
Okay, so
It will transfer.
You're just creating more reds and blues on the map.
Exactly.
to be able to get it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which I want to say is what just happened to Jinx. I think she went to go pick up the red that you had, and then just got like crumbled.
So, Rengar was in the bush there, and normally he would jump in the bush, but he took my Q instead. So pretty much the same thing with Rengar, but that would have been one case where you'd see my team take the Q.
So I think another thing that there is for you guys to consider here, right? Like you're watching like a high diamond / master player play IVERN, who has also had months and months of internal playtesting on this champion. So while we're certainly learning a lot about the max potential of the character right here, like the IVERNs in your game are gonna look pretty derp after a while, right? Like this is a whole bunch of people who have never seen this character before ever again. I think every time we do one of these, the characters just look insane because everyone's not really what they're gonna do. Okay.
Yeah, one thing to note is I think IVERN actually has one of the hardest game ones, just because he's so unique. It really does take a lot of getting used to. So, if you're gonna pick him up, I highly recommend that you hop in a custom game and test out his clear first.
So, Blake, can IVERN die from his passive?
No, he can't. He can't use it if he would kill himself.
Okay, so there's like a minimum,
Yeah.
right? And you said the cost goes down as he levels up as well.
Yep, it does. The percent that he takes goes down, and it's also base health rather than maximum. So if you buy health items, you actually make it a lot less painful.
Okay, so when you're IVERN, you actually want to be itemizing health, generally speaking.
Health and AP, I think, are the two main things that you want. Cooldown reduction also is very, very good. Move speed when you can get it as well.
Okay, and what are the primary beneficial scalars of AP? Like what are you gonna get when you buy a lot of AP in this guy?
Right. So his Q obviously scales with just straight up damage that it'll do. His W passive ranged attacks. So if you guys have been able to see, when you go into brush, IVERN's attacks become ranged and they deal bonus damage. That has a really, really good scalar on it. So your autos can actually start hurting really bad. His shield has a good ratio on it, trying to help him scale really late.
Jinx. Oh, is Daisy about to go in?
Maybe.
Oh, yeah.
And Daisy also just gets almost every stat increased by IVERN.
Okay, so Daisy hits harder, becomes tankier.
Yep.
Did she get faster?
She doesn't get faster, but she attacks faster.
Okay, so you get attack speed as well. So Ding Zarina asks, what runes and like what's your setup? Like, we're getting a little technical, but let's go there. How do you like to set up playing this character?
Yeah, so as far as masteries, I try to take as much regen as I can. His early clear really gets benefit by it. And then I prefer Thunderlords or one that will allow me to get tankier, such as Strength of Ages. And then, let's see, for runes, I pretty much always go movement speed.
Oh, Bart!
I pretty much always go movement speed quints, but AP quints can be good too. I'm sure there's a lot of room to experiment there. And then, because I don't need armor, he's probably one of the only junglers where you have room to explore in your yellows right now.
So what is it you like to do on your yellow?
So I tend to go HP per level, just because it fits my style on him, I guess. He's not looking hot.
Alright, yeah, that was a lot of brush. So the basic attacks, the range basic attacks, is that always is that an all brush?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
in any brush,
Okay.
but having your own brush to place makes it a lot easier to get to. So
I
let's
see.
hover that tooltip real fast.
Okay. Man. Yeah, Bard did indeed come in clutch. Ricky Pody, what do you mean he doesn't need armor? Well, if the monsters are never attacking you, you don't need the armor.
Right.
Right, I think that's the idea, because you do take damage, but it's damage that you self-inflict and damage that you mitigate by body.
Right. I mean, armor will still be useful for you against champions.
Yeah, armor's still
As
definitely
you
very
saw
good.
right there.
Yeah.
That was, ended up still being pretty decent.
Yeah, it's just like most junglers, their first clear is so important for them. you need to take armor pretty much.
Stakona is face palming, saying you're building Rylai's on a champion with a rune and a slow ability.
So one thing that's fun about Rallies is his W auto attacks now apply Rallies. So if you auto attack, it'll slow on every auto attack. So there's some pretty neat synergy there.
Right. If you ever wanted a good ranged frozen mallet, that's kind of the idea.
And it just has good stats for him.
He likes health.
So Daisy. Oh!
Oh fuck. I did not mean to.
Oh, did you accidentally flash forward?
I did flash. Different key buttons.
Yo, dance with Daisy. Will she dance?
Yeah, she'll dance. If she's not moving.
This is my favorite thing. And so how often do you feel like the shield like slowing and healing? Like, how often does that come up? Because in the beginning of the game, it didn't look like the slow was that strong. It looked like you were more just using it for the shield, honestly.
I think it's pretty much the opposite of that. Where early game I use it primarily for the slow and then the damage, with shield being like my third priority. And then late game I think it tends to be the shield's more important.
Mr. PC Dude asks, with this passive, does that mean you can duo jungle?
You could. I think you could find out clever ways of doing that. It's not like he scales less heavily though than other characters, so he still likes having gold. He still has ratios that he needs. His bases will probably generally be a little bit lower than some other supports to compensate for the fact that he needs more gold. But you could definitely try it, and I think that his passive allows you to figure out clever ways of doing it.
Oh my lord. Save your Gragas! Save him! Alright, this is interesting because oh, Lord. Oh, good, sick blue screen.
Oh, I'm gonna try to set up my Rengar right there. Give him the bush so he could follow up.
I love
really strong.
I'm loving the Proto Belt IVERN, by the way. The dashing forward just to get the extra. How does that make you feel as the developer? This build.
I love Proto Belt, so
Okay.
it was one of those. It was one of those things where I was looking sort of through the items, and when we were figuring out like what his scalers and such like that should be, what we wanted him to build, and kind of a little bit was like, yeah, I'm gonna make him build Proto Belt because I love that item so much. So a little bit of my bias came in, and luckily that has the sort of stats that we wanted to get, AP health and cooldown reduction. And so it really just kind of
This is the
works out
saddest
for me.
Rengar. I would be so tilted. Between the Bard roots and between. Oh! Daisy takes it! Oh my god, this is my favorite thing. Oh! Daisy's trying to finish.
One more. No.
Oh no.
Okay.
Didn't get it.
So I'm gonna try to grab the blue as I leave. He's pretty good at counter
Yeah,
jumping on
especially
his way
like
out.
being able to go over the wall with the Q, right? Seems like quite a big deal.
Right, if you hit a jungle monster, you can jump right to him.
Does it work on minions as well?
You can jump to minions. Yeah.
I'll double
Okay,
that
so
real
there
fast.
might be some high skill plays where you can Q a minion and use it to kind of get behind you.
Right.
Right, to close off those squares. Which definitely seems like a thing. But, man. So yeah, I was telling you guys this before, but like for a while now, I try not to get to know the new characters before they go on, because I want to play them at the same time everyone else is playing him. So this is guys like I've seen IVERN in playtests, but I've never like paid attention. This is like my first time watching IVERN's experience, and I think this is so cool. I'm pretty into it.
Yeah, pretty much every time I'm hitting a tower or Baron or Dragon, I'll drop a brush so I can repeat my auto attack damage. It adds a lot to your overall damage if you can stay in a brush.
So I want to talk about. I want to move away from just talking about gameplay for a second, Blake, and I want to talk about like what do you think IVERN really brings to the game that we didn't really have before? Because I remember a couple days ago we were talking about how like he's kind of one of the few truly good guy characters we have in our game.
Yeah, I mean, I think thematically that's one of the things that we were really trying to go for was there's a lot of characters that are like good or fall on like the good axis, right? But there's not a lot of characters that even personality-wise are just straight up nice.
Yeah.
Braum is one of those, like probably one of the biggest guys who is just like straight up like a good person. And IVERN is definitely in that spectrum and far along that line. Like he cares about everyone. That's his personality. Even his taunts are not malicious towards people, right? So that's kind of the feeling is like kind of more relaxed.
Brett, no, he tried to make it to the portal.
Oh, the Great Escape.
Best Bard top PvE? Is it really him?
Oh.
Oh no. Oh. It's like so weird watching you as you play it. Like I don't know if you're about to be in danger at all.
Yeah, one of the things that we really wanted to get out of Sona's play style is that sort of baity, trolly, kind of tricky element to him. Like you can see him back away as he goes, kind of like gets away from you, lets Daisy fight you, throws down brush to drop vision. All those sorts of things are really like fun aspects to do to try to get people to overextend and to commit themselves in a way that's not going to be beneficial to them.
Right. So how do you think IVERN changed a lot in his development? Because you brought up from a gameplay standpoint, you were like, well, we wanted to make a jungler, and then we were hoping that we could try to make a true support jungler, right? But
yeah.
like, you were also talking about how in the beginning, he had like this crazy antler mask, and it was almost like pagan, right? Like, how do you feel about how he's progressed as a champion so far?
Yeah, I think from a personality standpoint, we kind of went through a couple of different sort of iterations of what he would be like. He originally was supposed to be more creepy, more mysterious. He could have been a character that never even talk to you, right? Would have been something that made sense for the original concept art that was actually put for him. And he kind of progressed from there. They went towards the good pacifist character, and that went into a little more along the lines of someone like Bob Ross, very, very peaceful, very gentle. And so he has hints of all this stuff still, but he shifted more towards like playful and jovial and just kind of enjoying life as a character, and that's sort of where he ended up being.
Yeah, so a lot of people are in the chat. Oh, you got the Bob Ross. Bob
Kappa
Ross,
Ross.
IVERN. Kappa Ross. So a lot of people were asking with the AP scaling, Sean, how do you feel about Nashor's Tooth on this character?
I haven't had much success with it, mostly because he's so in and out a lot of the times, and he's just about applying early pressure. So I prefer things that give movement speed, some sort of tool to increase my gank powers or mobility.
Yeah, it's actually interesting for everyone to kind of note right now, with the exception of Guardian Angel, all of Sean's items are like manipulating movement speed in some way, right? Like they're allowing him to move in and move out kind of at will and get around the map.
Yeah, and once I get my first few items, so typically once I get Runic Echoes, Proto Belt, and Moby Boots, or whatever kind of boot I'm feeling that game, I will start going more tank, so I can transition into a more a team role instead of a ganking role.
So I want to keep talking about his personality a little bit. What are some of the like the inspirations for his playstyle and for his personality? I know we at one point when I was first looking at him, we talked about Rafiki from The Lion King being like kind of pretty close to where he is in the first read that you get. Were there others that maybe are not close to him?
Yeah, so there's a few. Rafiki has always been my personal favorite, just is a pretty good reference. But the sort of idea of the sort of kooky master, like Yoda was a one that we were talking about. The character that sort of tricks you a little bit into thinking that they're not really all there, and you sort of disarms you from that, and then gets a read on your sort of personality. That's kind of where we wanted IVERN to end up being, where he will, on first blush, say some sort of weird and crazy things that you don't really understand, and the more you listen to him, though, the more you know that he actually is quite wise, and that he has things that are really meaningful to say and probably have deeper meanings than what he's actually even saying.
Right.
And so that's sort of where you get the Rafiki, who is sort of joking around the Yoda when Luke first meets him and is, saying things and doesn't actually think that he's the master. Those sorts of personality elements are what we really wanted to get through. And from the gameplay perspective, one of the things that I had always been thinking of is the idea of a lot of the sort of Fey type creatures, which are like forest spirits generally, that exist in mythology or in games and things like that, that sort of trick you, mislead you, but they're not necessarily trying to kill you. They just don't want you to be there.
Right, yeah. They're not always like bad.
Right.
They're sometimes you might say like chaotic.
Right.
Right.
And so the idea was like when we talked through it, if we're questioning like, well, what would IVERN do if somebody was somewhere they were not supposed to be? It's like, well, what he'd probably do is make you confused about where you are using his abilities and lead you right back out.
Right, yeah.
And so,
he probably wouldn't be aggressive
No.
or anything like that.
And he wouldn't kill you. He would trick you basically into leaving as long as that was possible for him to do.
Just a refresher, by the way, guys, his passive does not work on epic monsters, so it doesn't work on Herald, any of the dragons, Baron, anything like that. We have a question from Yenrud, he's been asking a couple times, basically saying, do you have any comments on how you believe this is really going to shake up the pro scene, because early jungle shenanigans is kind of their thing, and as well as the ability to donate buffs?
Yeah. I think, from my perspective, I think that there's probably going to be a few ways that they could be really clever with how they utilize this. I think there's a lot of potential for strategy. I think personally that I'm not sure if IVERN will try to like take over a meta or anything like that, just because I think his damage output might not be high enough, and I think that once you understand what he's doing, it might be very difficult for a player who is very, very versed in what he can do, or to play against a character who is very versed in what he can do. Because a lot of the tricks that you could pull off won't work if a character or if a person is ready for that. And so I'm not sure, maybe for a little bit, but once he's figured out, I think it won't be so bad.
Oh god, I thought that was the enemy. Oh, you're gonna get jumped on? So scary now, because, oh, okay, I was like, even though it's your own brush,
Yeah.
you now can't see into it after a little bit.
It's his brush now.
Yeah. All brush is Rengar's brush eventually. But yeah, I think that's kind of an interesting thing because, we were even joking about ghosting at the beginning of the game, but it's like, if you had been able to see that early 3-buff coming, you destroy him and you can take almost anything. I think someone from the chat pointed out that, like, invading him is going to be super, super tough for him because if you find any of the...
Get him, Daisy. Oh god.
Oh no!
I'm not.
I'm sorry, I love watching Daisy. You've got to be dead.
If I know. Yeah, I'm dead. There's the distance.
But,
Shut down.
oh, his
You
death
got the
animation,
Timber.
just the falling over.
Timber, yeah.
That's how tilted he gets. He just tilts and
Yeah.
right onto the ground.
I do think, from a perspective though, that it could be as well that the more your allies are able to help you, that could mitigate a lot of the play against, right? Like he's very good at delaying people that come to attack him, and so if he's able to root them and continuously slow them, right, and his allies come to help, that could make it a lot easier.
Right. Okay, so I think we're gonna do